again. So you've probably noticed that we haven't had any videos up for a while, since the end of May, I believe. Anyways, apparently summer break isn't exactly always conducive to making more videos, but hopefully we'll be getting back into the rhythm of doing videos this fall. But enough of my talking. I mean, come on, you guys didn't come here to hear me make excuses about why there's no videos on our channel. You came to hear about these things. Alright, so this probably raises an obvious question. What are loglines? So I'm going to give you an example of when you would use them. And at the end of the video, I'll give you some examples of what they actually look like after we've discussed how to make them. So, you know when a friend comes up to you and says, "Hey, what's your book about?" And you're like,
"Oh, well, it's about this boy and a girl, and they're visiting their grandparents, but their house is super weird, and they run into trouble, yeah."
And then you're just left stuttering and grasping for ideas, since you really don't know how you're supposed to summarize, like, a 200,000 word novel in, like, just one sentence. And that's where loglines come in. Both so that you can explain what your story is about to friends, and as well as be able to explain it professionally to, like, literary agents and publishers and such. Basically, a logline is a one-sentence summary, that's right, just one tiny little sentence long, that boils down the main character, basic plot, and premise of your book into one simple sentence. And yes, I really did just use the word sentence way too many times in that sentence. Loglines are traditionally used for films, but it's important for writers to have them for their books as well. It forces you to figure out what the main point of your book is when it's boiled down to a very simplistic sentence. Even if you never actually need to use it in real life, I can pretty much guarantee you they will help you to get a more solid idea of what your story is about and what its main point is. So having explained why you should have a logline for your story, let me run through 4 quick rules for writing the logline of your story. Number 1, don't name your characters. It's a simple rule. Describe who your characters are, to be sure, but normally it's not a good idea to name them. So describe them as a scheming young boy or a brave but conflicted woman. Basically, use adjectives to describe them, but try not to use proper names like Luke Skywalker or Odysseus in the one-sentence description. Number 2, describe the protagonist's goal. Basically, let us know what he wants in the book and who or what is trying to stop him. This is the most important thing that you need to get across in your logline. If we don't know who the protagonist is, what he wants, or what's in his way, then it's pretty much failed as a logline. So make sure we know the basic premise of your book. Number 3, make sure the reader knows the stakes if their protagonist fails. Sometimes it's obvious. I mean, if the goal of the protagonist is to stop a megalomaniac conqueror, then, the consequences are obvious that, he's trying to take over the world, so you don't need to spell it out. But it's not always obvious what the stakes are. So just make sure that the reader knows what the stakes are, in case the hero fails to complete his objective. Number 4, keep it short and simple. Loglines are not the opportunity to cram as many commas and semicolons and punctuation marks as you can in a sentence. Please, don't make it the world's longest sentence. That's not a real logline. The goal is not to tell the reader about every single thing that happens in your book. It's about communicating the most important parts, which will require you to know in advance what the most important parts are in your story. So there you go. Hopefully today you learned what loglines are, why we should use them, and some quick guidelines for writing them. But you might still be wondering, what do loglines look like? Here are 2 examples. When a young farm boy meets 2 droids, he must rescue a princess in order to save the rebels from being blown apart by a ruthless empire. When a curious young girl finds the entrance to another world inside of a wardrobe, she and her siblings must stop an evil witch who has kept the whole world in eternal winter. So there we go. Let us know in the comments what the logline for your story is, and if you could come up with maybe some better loglines for the stories we mentioned. Until next time, I'm off for now.